The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in to Empathy Ever After, the newest podcast on the Tony Kurre Radio Network. I am David Sears with my lovely and talented wife, Lila Sears.
Hi, everybody.
We have got the notion to do a podcast about relationships.
Yes.
So we are going to add this. This is going to air weekdays at 7 a.m. So as you're getting up there, or you can go to our fine Audio Boom page and all of our major podcasting networks where you can find Empathy Ever After under the Tony Kurre Radio Network. We're the cool one with a great logo designed by Chris McInnes. Very storybook. Thank you, Chris. Shout out to him. Follow him at Break Orbit Studio on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. So
thanks, McInnes.
Thank you, McInnes. He is a good guy for some reason. I know he's the born villain, but still. This podcast is going to be about relationships for the most part. We'll have some side stories to steal a thing. But for the most part, we're just going to be about relationships. I have been married to Lila for 17 years.
Yes, we've been together for 18 years, so we did get married a little faster than some people do.
We got engaged really quickly.
Yes.
And then we had about a year cooling off period, and then we got married.
Yes, we immediately knew that we were the one for each other.
It was weird. Like, you just knew. I just knew.
We just knew.
All right. We have to tell the story.
We do. We have to tell the story. Do you want to tell it, or do you want me to tell it?
Do you want to tell it and me just pop in with highlights?
Okay, that's fine. So I was a teaching assistant at the University of Alabama. Roll Tide. And there you go. That's a good reason why we are meant to be together. But David was a fifth-year senior, Victory Lap year.
Victory Lap?
Yes. And so I was teaching with a wonderful professor, the late Dr. Gary Copeland, and he was teaching TCF 100 and was it 100?
112.
TCF 112, and I was his assistant because that classroom held like 215 people. And it would fill up every time. And they were mostly freshmen, but David was taking 112. It was motion picture history and criticism. David had loved Dr. Copeland's TCF 100 class, loved Dr. Copeland, and he had needed another class to stay on his parents' health insurance. And so,
which we'll come to later because that was really important.
Yes. And so he was sitting the first night of class. It was an evening class. I sort of scanned the room because I was seeing if I knew anybody in the class. And so I was looking around and I spot this very, very tall guy with dark hair in the back of the classroom wearing a Chipper Jones jersey. And I just had this instant knowledge of, I'm going to go out with this guy.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, I did. And just knowledge. It wasn't like judgment. It wasn't like love at first sight exactly, but it was like, this is a thing that I know.
She knew she was going to date me. She didn't know she'd end up marrying me, though.
I didn't. So after class, Gary's favorite phrase was, I don't know, go ask Lila. And so if it was anything about attendance, anything about schedule, anything about anything, basically, was, I don't know, go ask Lila. And so this swarm of 18-year-olds was at the front of the classroom after class was over, and David comes down and he waits very patiently while these other people ask me questions, and he comes up to me, and my first words to him were, "Oh my, but you are tall."
And I immediately dropped to a knee and go, "Is this better?"
And I said, "Oh, no, that's weird. That's weird. Get up. And so we talked, we chatted a little through the semester.
We did. Then I found out I was schizophrenic.
in a terrible, awful way.
In a horrible way.
Yeah, but
I found out I was schizophrenic, and I was in the hospital for about 9 days as they started medicating me and figuring out how to make the voices in my head stop. So luckily, I had a great professor who I got to know very well over the course of my college career, Pam Tran, and she was able to go to all my classes and get me eyes for incomplete so I could finish up in the spring semester. Well, as I'm finishing up in the spring semester, I have to watch films for Gary's class, and these are films you really can't get anywhere else. Hopscotch being one, which is now part of the Criterion Collection.
yeah.
Some film, and then another class I was taking were films from Cuba that you could either check out from Tulane, which Aaron, I forget Aaron's last name, had done, the professor of that class. So he trusted me to take these home and watch them and bring them back undamaged, because these are films they literally had to get permission from the American government to bring back from Cuba, because you weren't supposed to bring anything back from Cuba.
Yeah.
And my dad enjoyed it because there were some really cool films. So anyways, I'm up there watching Hopscotch, and she comes to check on me because she wants to make sure I'm watching the film and not goofing around. And we just started talking, and I finished that class, take the exam, get the grade. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to shoot my shot. So I go to the TA lounge.
Yeah, well, it was the graduate student office. The master's level students had kind of one big office that we all shared in the TCF department. And I was sitting there at my computer with another one of the students. Shout out Bobby Papioni. I was doing some work, and David comes in and is talking with me and
laying it on as thick as I can. And
yeah.
I'm thinking she's just not interested, because she is just not engaging whatsoever.
I mean, I'm being nice.
You're being nice, but I'm laying it on thick and thin, trying to like, hey, how you doing? Pulling some Joey Tribbiani. And she's not really engaging back with me. And I'm trying every trick in the book I have.
As it turns out, it's because I am completely oblivious. So David left the room, and I turned to Bobby, who was on my left, and I said, was he hitting on me? And Bobby said, oh yeah, definitely.
And so back in the early days, kids, before Facebook had Messenger.
Yeah.
You could go to someone's Facebook profile and find their AOL Instant Messenger handle.
Yes.
So I'm like, all right, she's a hot chick. She's got to be on Facebook. Let's see. We have friends, mutual friends. All right. Papioni was my friend because we had a couple of classes together. And this is back when Facebook started in 2003. So basically, if you were in the same class, you'd add each other just because it's new and fun. So I add Bob. I go through his friends list, and there's a very unique Lila Engel. Lila, very, very unique name, not that hard to find. So I find her profile, and her AOL Instant Messenger was Tiny Major.
Yeah, because I'm a very small person, and I was drum major. So at some point, that's what I was in high school.
So at the time, I was still living at my parents' house and commuting to Tuscaloosa for days I had classes and tests and such. And so I come back home. I was like, I'm going to find this woman. And I find her on Facebook, find her AOL Instant Messenger, and I completely pull a stalker move and just, hey, my name's David. I see you go to Alabama. I was just browsing names, and there you are. And then she's like, yeah, my name's Lila. And I just pull out one of the stupidest, cheesiest things. That's crazy. I have a graduate assistant whose name is Lila.
Yeah. It was terrible, and I knew exactly who he was. I mean, I knew what he was doing.
And we started talking, and we ended up talking every night. And then we went on our first date, which was a crazy, inappropriate movie.
Yes, it was the Johnny Depp-led art film The Libertine, which is a period piece about the second Earl of Rochester, and it is wildly inappropriate as a first date movie.
Lots of sex,
lots of sexual content, lots of nudity. I mean, it's about a libertine, so it's Don't go see it on a. Don't see it on a. First
I knew
date.
she liked Johnny Depp because we both liked Johnny Depp because we were both fans of the Pirates films. Sure. And I was like, you know what? Let's go see it. Again, that's why the MPAA puts out what it's rated R for.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. We didn't look.
I'm a bum at this point. I have no job. I think I had $10 to my name, and I have no car. My dad and I shared a car. It was a '87 Honda Civic, and he needed it that night, so I couldn't go pick her up. So she comes to pick me up, pays for the movie tickets.
I've always been a big believer in early dating, in paying equally, going Dutch, that kind of stuff.
Then she became the breadwinner, and she's like, I'm paying for everything. So we go see the Libertine. We're sitting next to each other. A lot of nervous laughter between the two of us because I'm just like, I don't know what I want to hold her hand, but is she going to think I'm trying to do something? So we finished the Libertine, nervous laughter. And if you've been to the Summit, the Barnes and Noble has a Starbucks in it. So we're like, let's go get some coffee. So we're lazy Americans, and we drive down instead of walking down from the Summit. It was Carmike then. It's now an AMC. We drove down to the Barnes and Noble, get our coffee. It's March, so it's still kind of cool. So she's in a jacket, and she gets a hot beverage. I'm a Frappuccino dude. I don't like hot beverages. I know I'm weird. And we start talking, and then she starts fiddling with her cup. She will not stop fiddling with her cup. Yes. She's just knocking it over consistently and just keeps doing it. So then I just take both her hands, put my hands on her hands, and she kind of calms down. And we just start talking, and we're holding hands. And then we spent about an hour talking. Then she took me home. And we immediately get home, and she gets back to Tuscaloosa, her apartment in Northport, and we start aiming, and we talked till about 2 a.m. that night. And we just talked and talked and talked. And I was like, I got to see this woman again. So we set up a second date in Tuscaloosa, which was a lunch date. And then we were like, yeah, this is what we need to do. So we start talking every day on AIM. I make weekend visits to her to see her, and she meets my parents within a month of us starting dating. Yep. And then I go to Saudi Arabia for a trip with my dad. We tried to launch Olympic magazine, did not get launched. But during the course of that, the people we met in Saudi Arabia needed us to bring back an instrument to one of their sons. It was an oud, and it was basically going to have to go down and back to Tampa in one day. So I'm 23 at this point, so that's totally normal for a 23-year-old. Yeah, I can stay up 24 hours, no biggie. Sure.
Why not?
I find out about it on a Sunday night that I have to do this. I call Lila up, say, hey, I've got to drive down to Tampa and back. You want to come with me?
And I said, yes, absolutely. I remember walking into my mom's room. I was at home when he told me this in my parents' house, and I walked into my mom's room and said, hey, David is gonna drive to Tampa and back in a day, and I think I need to go because he's going to need to stay awake and that kind of stuff. And she's like, if you don't go, you're going to be crazy. So obviously, go. Yeah. So
we leave Birmingham and drive. We cut down through Atlanta and take that down to Tampa and deliver the oud in the Tampa airport. And we're in the Tampa airport parking deck. I'm in the driver's seat. She's in the passenger seat. It's hot. It's humid. It's Tampa. Because this is May, before it really gets bad. I turn the AC on. I look at her and goes, I know this is crazy, but will you marry me?
And I said, yes.
So no ring, no romantic proposal. She's like, you have to at least take me to the beach. So we go to Clearwater and walk on the beach for about an hour. And then we head back up. And she calls her friend Sonia, and she was living in Gainesville at the time, one of her college buddies. And her husband was going to watch the baby. She was like, yeah, I'd love to see you. So Sonia Key, isn't it me? Is the first person we tell we're engaged. And she's like, wow, well, good for you. So.
But she understood. Sonia understood.
We get back home. It's like 4 a.m. We're both worn out. My parents had made the guest room up for Lila to sleep. I went down to my room and slept. And the next morning I told my best friend, Paul Linsky, he's like, are you sure about this? But he knows he's not going to talk me out of it. So Paul was just like, all right. Okay.
He's like, I think you've lost your mind, but okay.
So we get engaged, I want to say May 12th, 16th, somewhere around there.
I'm just impressed that you can get that close because I have no earthly idea.
It was after graduation.
Okay.
Because I graduated and we were engaged. Mm-hmm. And graduation at Alabama's Mother's Day weekend, which is the second Sunday. So I'll have to go back and look at the 2006 calendar.
It's okay.
All right. Anyway, so we are engaged and we hit the ground running. We talk to each other every day. I start working at Baumhauer's in Patton Creek, which is now closed. Used to be across from the AMC, right across in the Patton Creek facility. There was Baumhauer's
given a lot of location shout outs for Birmingham here.
It's very central to our relationship. We see each other. I finally get a ring to her right after her birthday in November.
Yeah, it was a Christmas present.
So we get a ring. Shout out to her stepdad, my father-in-law, Steve Holtz, who helped me pick out a great ring for...
He's the jewelry master of the family.
Yes. And I got her a ring, and I got her a matching wedding band. And that April 2007, we get married, just a small ceremony, 11 of us, including me and Lila, at her house in the Den. And we have a great honeymoon to Disney World. And we've been together 17 years married, 18 years as a couple.
Yep.
We've been through a lot of ups and downs. I've had a couple of schizophrenic episodes, one on a Christmas Eve night, which was not fun.
No, that was not good.
That's how your parents found out I was schizophrenic.
It was. That was our first married Christmas, and it was rough because David didn't understand like when you are supposed to get your refills for your medications and things like that, and ran out of his meds. So that was the problem there. We were able to get some meds in the ER.
That ER doctor was so cool. She's like, technically I'm supposed to put you in, but it's Christmas Eve. Let me go to the pharmacy. On December 26th, you get your butt to a pharmacy ASAP. It's like, yes, ma'am. So, went and got that December 26th. And the second time was when I was doing diet pills and Monster Energy and was burning through my medicine faster in my body. Or I was metabolizing my medicine faster than I was supposed to.
Yeah, that's a special note for any of you out there who are thinking that you should probably do, something that's going to speed up your metabolism, but you take medications. Hey, maybe check with your doctor before you do that because you don't want to metabolize your medications too quickly.
You do not, because bad things happen. You hear voices. Luckily, Lila now knows what one of my schizophrenic episodes look like, so she can...
Well, and you're really good about communicating.
Well, now that I know not everybody hears voices in their head.
Well, yeah.
Except for Randy Orton. So...
Another thing is that we share a lot of fandoms, and wrestling is one of them.
Yes. So, shout out to my amazing wife who's been with me and knows how to handle me well. We've done a great job of communicating. I think our communication's only gotten better.
Let's hope so.
Throughout the years.
Yeah. And so I think that with this show, what we want to do is to use our experience to help other people with their communication and with their relationships, to talk about ways that we can be kinder to each other in relationships. I think that's the biggest thing with our relationship, is that we don't really argue with each other. We don't fight.
Yes, we do.
And he's trying to instigate, but it's not going to happen.
Am I?
Wow. But we don't fight, and of course we disagree on things.
We disagree on a lot. She's a bleeding heart communist.
I mean, it's not wrong.
I've become more of a moderate.
Yeah.
I'm not as staunch conservative as I was.
Yeah. But there's a lot of things that we disagree on, but we don't fight. And the thing is that we try to act like we love each other.
We don't act. We do. No, seriously, there is no woman in the world I would trust more than her. And about anything. And I know some people our age are on their second or third marriage. We're lucky. We've had a couple of hard times to go through.
Well, sure.
But every couple does. But we've come at it through love. We know we genuinely love each other. We have each other's backs, and know that we will get through this. We will find a way to overcome this.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that you can feel this way about someone after all this time and still love them more each day.
Yeah, and I think that we both had some good examples of longevity in relationships when we were growing up. We had grandparents who were together for very long, long relationships, long healthy relationships, and maybe even kind of unconventional relationships.
Yeah.
But we got to see some happy, healthy relationships modeled for us within our grandparents growing up, and so that was neat. And we try to do things our own way and not how we see a lot of other people around us doing things. We try to do what works for us.
What works for us may not work for you. We're just giving you some tips. Like, you may want to try it this way.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's relationship is unique. Everyone else is unique. Everyone's relationship cannot be handled the same way ours has been. I know one of the jobs I work right now, I deal with older people, and they're kind of amazed, especially the older men in their 80s and 90s, that I do housework and do laundry and help around the house. They're like, that's a woman's job. I was like, maybe in your day, buddy.
Yeah.
but no, it's a even footing, equal helping opportunity. And
well, and when you have two people who are making money and two people who are, going out and, earning money, two people who are professionals, then you have to have, two people at home who are sharing the load at home.
Yeah. And I mean, it's rough sometimes because there are days I don't want to do anything. I just want to come home, but there's litter to scoop, there's trash to take out, laundry to be folded. And my wife is amazing. And she, no, I'm being dead serious, because you have chronic migraines, and some of these are ridiculously debilitating, and you can't do much. So I have to help you. And then I've managed to tear both quads and been laid up for a couple months at a time each time. Yeah. And
yeah, we just got the option to have some accident insurance at work, and I was like, yes, I would like to cover my spouse because I married the bull from the china shop. I was like, he has managed to tear both quads and break both hands since we've been married. So yes, please, I would like the accident coverage insurance for my husband.
So, but it's yes, I did play football. I was an athlete at one point. Emphasis on was. Emphasis on was. But it's been very give and take. We're very different. I am 6'4.5".
And I'm 4'10 2/3".
We'll give you 4'11".
Oh, so generous of you.
I am. I'll give you that third of an inch. That's what she said. All right, so
oh no.
But we're different. We're very different people. I am very loud, outgoing. I can go into a room and make friends with everybody. Lila will find the animal and just sit with the animal.
Yeah, I'm very introverted. I tend to be quiet. I like my people who I already know. I like my close family. And I like my my alone time and my solo hobbies, and I like David said, my animals, and I like my quiet. And
we have 5 cats, so we don't get much quiet.
No,
especially now that it's hunting season.
Oh gosh.
So our animals bring in chipmunks, snakes, lizards, moles, mice, baby rabbits that are still alive.
Yeah, fortunately, we did get to rescue the one rabbit so far this year.
We get birds.
Yeah, birds.
We had a bird flying around our house the other day.
Yeah, that was
fun.
An adventure for sure.
But we have 5 cats. Those are our children. Unfortunately, I'm infertile, so we won't be able to have kids.
Yeah.
So our cats are our kids.
Yeah.
But
we are the people who wish the IRS counted dependents by number of legs.
Yes, we'd be so well off. But this podcast, we're going to get into lots of different topics. Dealing with aging parents, dealing with terminal parents, fandom, dealing with pets, dealing with when your husband keeps bringing home pets.
Everything that, we deal with as couples, from chores to vacations to money to, division of labor, anything that could be a relationship topic, we want to talk about it.
Yeah, because let's face it, in a relationship, lots of crazy things happen.
Yeah.
Lots of unexpected things happen. Everything can be going along smoothly, and then your husband slips on a slippery when wet sign and tears his left quad and is stuck in Birmingham because he can't drive because his left leg is stuck straight. So stuff like that, just giving examples, hypotheticals.
Total hypothetical, and you did hear that right. Slipping on the slippery when wet sign. You did hear that correctly.
So we're going to just try to be honest, keep it 100, as the kids say. No cap. I don't know if I'm using this right. I'm just saying
I think you did.
Phrases.
I think you did.
So we have some wisdom, mainly her, because she has a master's degree. I do not have a master's degree. I have a PhD in the School of Hard Knocks, though. Word.
You have a bachelor's degree.
I do have a bachelor's degree.
And we both have, bachelor's degrees, and I have a master's degree, and David has...
Look, if you need someone to do a podcast or edit video and audio and just put all that stuff together,
He's your guy. He's your guy.
Yeah.
I don't know what I do.
I've been working in broadcasting in some form or fashion for over 20 years now.
Yeah.
I worked at Chick-fil-A. I'm working at a physical therapist's office right now. I work for 2 radio stations, Tony Kurre Radio and Cumulus. Do a little bit of everything.
But my actual full-time job is I'm executive director of Daybreak. We are the domestic violence victims program in Walker County, Alabama. And so I do know a little bit about dysfunctional relationships, and terrible relationships, toxic relationships, abusive relationships. And so I know the opposite of what we have. And so I'm a little bit qualified to talk about those things as well as what we have, which is our personal experience and what healthy relationships look like.
So that is, in a nutshell, what Empathy Ever After will be talking about. And we've given you all this background information, nearly 30 minutes of it. Let's get to today's topic.
Yes, and today's topic is going to be, what's for dinner?
That question is handled by grace with my wife. Right now, I'm not getting home till about 6:30. So she either starts dinner at around 6 and has it ready when I get home, or she's like, I'm hungry, I need to eat now. And she'll have it cooked and then in the oven keeping warm for me so the cats don't eat it when I get home.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of cool things to do it. My cooking expertise is very minimal. The first time I tried to cook dinner for my wife, she was sick. She had some type of bug. All she wanted was mac and cheese.
That's food for the sick.
I'm like, cool. I can do that. I can make mac and cheese. So I go to our old house, pull out the big pot full of water, dump the mac and cheese in, wait for it to start boiling.
Yeah, so if you know anything about cooking pasta, you know that just turned into glue because you can't put pasta in water until the water is boiling.
I didn't know that. And she was very angry and very sick and absolutely miserable. I felt horrible that I had made her so upset when she was already feeling bad. So I went and got the best mac and cheese in the world, Chick-fil-A mac and cheese for her. And
well, they didn't have mac and cheese yet.
I went and got you some mac and cheese. It may have been Lee's.
I think it was, Lee's chicken mac and cheese because Chick-fil-A didn't have mac and cheese yet.
Yeah, I went and got her mac and cheese from, I think, Lee's then. It was either Chick-fil-A or Lee's. And she's like, we need to teach you how to cook. So after she got better, one of the first things I learned to make was mac and cheese.
Yes, because sometimes when I'm sick, that's the only thing I can think of that sounds good.
We have emergency mac and cheese.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned that, and then it's like, look, you need to learn other stuff too. So I basically have 5 dishes I can make. 2 basically are starting the same, and then branch off depending how you season it. With Mexican tacos and pasta / spaghetti bakes. I can do chicken. I can do sausage, like the Italian sausages you cook in the casings. I can, of course, do sandwiches.
Yeah.
My chopping skills are getting better.
Yeah.
For mincing vegetables. But for the most part, Lila cooks dinner 4 to 5 times a week. We try to limit our eating out to once a week. And then I try to handle dinner 1 night a week. And it's important because there are some nights Lila has to work late at the shelter.
Yeah.
And she'll message me like, hey, can you get dinner started? And then there's some nights where I have to finish my physical therapy job, then go to the radio station, and then I'll be back, and it'll be 9 o'clock, but I wouldn't have the time to eat it, so she will have cooked something and either kept it warm or put it in the fridge for me.
Yeah. Well, and the more likely thing that happens is that I have a migraine on a night that David cooks because I have chronic migraine. And so I think, though, that the important thing to remember when you are talking about eating as a couple is that there's a lot of invisible labor that goes into figuring out what you're going to eat. And it's not all just one thing. So there's figuring out what kinds of things your family likes. There's meal planning, there's grocery shopping. Everybody needs to eat. And so you have to figure that out, as it's just part of being an adult. Is learning how to feed yourself.
Yes.
It's not just, as the elderly men at physical therapy say, it's woman's work. It's, I don't know why he sounded like a Muppet right there. Because
he looks like a Muppet.
Because Muppets would never.
Sam the Eagle, maybe.
It's maybe. But it is American to know how to feed yourself.
It is.
Because we're very independent.
Yes.
But, It takes lots of work, so you have to learn how to manage time. When's this going to be finished?
How much seasoning your partner can take?
Yeah, and how much you can take. So, for example, like I love chicken and dumplings. Absolutely one of my favorite food. I am Southern through and through. Love chicken and dumplings. David won't eat them.
I'll add hot sauce to them.
And that is sacrilege.
They're so bland.
That's the point.
I don't want bland
They're
food.
Soothing.
I don't want bland food.
They're soothing. They're comfort food, like mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese isn't bland.
Mac and cheese tastes like cheese.
Yeah, and cheese isn't bland.
Cheese isn't bland, but they're like, well, you like cobbler. It's like chicken cobbler.
No, it's not. Cobbler's sweet.
It's savory gobbler.
It is not savory. It has no taste.
It does.
It has no taste.
It tastes like chicken.
It tastes like beige.
It tastes like chicken.
It tastes like beige.
It tastes like chicken. Anyway, we're not going to have this argument on the podcast. Also, there's cleanup. You know, you gotta figure out what to do with the leftovers, if there are any, which sometimes in our house, there's not.
They're not.
Then
Depends on how hungry I am.
Yes. Refrigerator space, cleaning out the refrigerator, cleaning up the stove, cleaning up the kitchen, cleaning the dishes. And so there's just lots of, there's just a whole lot of work that goes into it that maybe you don't necessarily think about.
Because, my parents, back when I was growing up, my mom would generally cook. My dad would do the dishes. That was his thing. He would do the dishes before he went to bed. Our kitchen was away from their bedroom, so he could do the clink and clacking of the dishes and such, and not really wake my mom up. Because my mom's like Lila. She's a pumpkin. She has to be in bed by 9:00. So,
Yeah.
But I try to do a better job cleaning up. I generally handle the trash when it's time to go out. When I'll scoop the litter boxes and I'll take out the trash. Occasionally, when I cook, I'll try to put stuff up for her, depending on how tired she is. And sometimes when she cooks, I'll put stuff up. Sometimes when I cook, she'll put stuff up. But we're very much like, hey, can you do this? Not like, do this or else.
Yeah. I think there's, for us, it's less an expectation of, just thinking like, oh, they'll handle it. And more of, oh, hey, would you mind doing this? Or, hey, could you do this? I don't know. I think that's kind of more what we do. Even if you enjoy cooking, it can feel like a real burden sometimes. Either you don't feel well, or you're just tired, or work was stressful, or...
Because let me be honest with you. Lila has a very stressful job. And there are some days that completely drain her. And some of those days, she's like, can you handle cooking? Some of those days, she's like, I really need a burger and fries. Yeah. So we do our best to accommodate each other. I'm pretty easy. I'll eat whatever she cooks. I'm not really picky. And she knows that some of her foods she really likes aren't exactly what I like. So she'll make me a little something extra on the side, like chicken and dumplings. When she does do that, she'll cook me some extra chicken that I can eat, and she'll season the chicken instead of just making it bland. When she does the chicken pot pie, she'll make me some extra chicken. Chili has grown on me as long as it's cold. I will do chili. As long as it's
cold outside, he's okay with chili.
Yeah.
He didn't like chili for a long time, but I am a big fan of chili. I love soups and stews and stuff, and David is offended by soup.
Those are appetizers.
David is highly offended by soup as a meal.
Soup is an appetizer.
Yeah. David's a big guy, and so he has a big appetite for a big guy. And big guy. And he wants food. I think the first time that he came to my parents' house, we had, something that we would normally eat, which is we're a small people. We are hobbity people. We had vegetable soup and cornbread maybe, and
I was so hungry when I left.
Yeah, it was.
And they live in Cordova, so the only place that was open to get anything would be Mojo's, and they close at 7. They stopped taking orders at 7:30, so they can be out by 8. So I was like, I'm hungry. I don't know what to say. I'm just going to smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. But
shout out Mojo's, best sandwiches in the world.
They are delicious. So we were just kind of feeling each other out. To me, a meal has to have meat.
Yeah. And the vegetable sandwich had beef in it, but he still was like, it's soup.
It's soup.
It's soup and cornbread, and it was not enough for him. My parents were very excited, and they're cooking people. They're very foodie people. My stepdad especially. has always been a big cook and baker, and he was very excited the first time he ever cooked enough and filled David up. I think he pulled the grill out and grilled a bunch of different meats. I want to say it was shrimp,
burgers, hot dogs.
I remember shrimp being on a skewer.
Oh, I miss the skewers he used to do.
Yeah.
Those were awesome.
Yeah.
With vegetables and shrimp and sausage. And it's good stuff.
So sometimes, cooking and remembering how I grew up eating is not necessarily going to be how David wants to eat.
And I'll say why I consider soup an appetizer, because that was generally the appetizer at one of the Disney meals we'd have.
Yeah. We also probably need to say that David, quite literally until he was a teenager, grew up at Walt Disney World.
My dad worked marketing and publicity for Walt Disney, so I got to meet a lot of famous people, get to go to a lot of fancy restaurants at Disney, and never realized how expensive it was.
Yeah, you got to go to the parks all the time and go to the resorts and test the resorts and the restaurants and that kind of stuff. And
Disney MGM's a special place in my heart, because I saw that park from when it was a lot to what it was. Now it's completely different from what it was, but I remember the 1989 opening. My mom would not let me miss school, but she did. She got to miss school.
Yeah.
So she dropped me and my sister off, and she went out there with Dad, and they toured the first day. She did let me go the first day Star Tours was officially opened, though.
Yeah.
She did take me out the official opening of Star Tours.
Yeah. But we are Disney people. David's a big Disney person, and so recently David bought me a bunch of official Disney parks cookbooks, though. Because I do love to cook. Even though I love to cook, cooking still sometimes feels very burdensome.
Especially when you look at some of the stuff in there that you have to prep ahead of time before.
Oh, sure. And I also have maybe a little bit of the ADHD of I don't know if something's not right in front of my face, it doesn't exist. And so I don't remember to thaw things. I don't remember to prep things. I don't remember to marinate things. So it's kind of hard to prepare things in advance for me. So that I need to do for a meal that's coming up that I gotta cook later, because cooking, think about Rachel Ray. She made an empire that started on 30-minute meals, and that's the kind of thing that is easier for me to cook. That whole I grew up with semi-homemade kind of stuff with you can use frozen or canned vegetables or whatever, or jarred pasta sauce or
pre-made biscuits or crescent rolls.
Yeah, sure. That kind of stuff. That's fine. You don't have to slave over a hot stove for hours on end.
This isn't the 1950s where you have all day to prep meal for when your husband gets home.
Exactly. My grandmother cooked. I have seen my grandmother cook all day long, where she would cook breakfast, and then she would cook something for lunch, and then she would cook something for supper, and she would be in the kitchen all the livelong day. Nobody wants to do that unless they're a professional, or that's a once in a blue moon kind of thing. So I think that a way that you can, what are some ways that we can, make that better in a relationship for each other? And we've talked about some ways that you've taken up some slack kind of stuff.
But I noticed, I tend to go to bed later than Lila. I'm a bit of a night owl, but I'll notice that when the freezer's full of meat, there's none thawing in the fridge. I'll set out some to thaw overnight in the fridge, so that way when she gets home, there's meat. And she's like, "Oh, thank you for setting that out." And I know that it makes her easier, so she doesn't have to wait on the microwave. She doesn't have to wait on the microwave to thaw the meat while she's trying to get the vegetables or water stuff going. I mean, it's it's important. It's a team effort for dinner. And I think other ways are meal prepping. We'll tend to meal prep our lunches for the week.
Yeah.
So that way we know what we're going to do for lunch.
Yeah, and that helps with food budget as well, because you're not tempted to eat out for lunch, grab some fast food for lunch. It's healthier too in general. You know, if you meal prep for your lunch, like I've been trying to do the Mediterranean diet recently for my cholesterol because it stinks on ice. And I've been trying to, eat more vegetables and olive oil and fish and all those wonderful things that you're supposed to eat. And making salads and that kind of stuff in advance for the week, where you don't have to, you're not tempted to go to the drive-thru and get French fries.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we'll talk about this. A future topic is weight loss, but I've been a yo-yoer. I've been almost 400 pounds. I've been down to 200 pounds. So I'm right now about 330. So I'm trying to get healthier, and there's sometimes I find that if I don't meal prep, I will eat horribly. I'm like, burger's fast. I'll get a burger.
Yeah.
And then, I'm so hungry. Let me get a second burger. So,
yeah.
But what we tend to do when we meal prep is we make meals that are filling with lots of fiber, lots of vegetables, lean proteins, whole grains. Like brown rice and I have got to be really good friends.
Yeah.
And then there's this cool stuff you get from Aldi that's a brown rice quinoa mix.
Yeah.
That's really good too.
That's hard to say.
It is. Brown rice.
brown rice and quinoa.
Quinoa. But so there are things you can do, and there are certain things that you can do ahead of time. Like sometimes we'll say, "Hey, would you like to do Taco Tuesday?" So when we're grocery shopping, we'll get a taco mix and know that Tuesday's going to be taco night. Mm-hmm. And you can get the taco kits with the. She's a crunchy shell.
I'm a crunchy shell person.
I'm a soft shell guy. I like soft tacos. So we go back and forth with that. Get that half and half mix. Mm-hmm. I know how to do that. Mm-hmm. So I also learned that you don't add salt to Mexican seasoning.
No, you don't need to add salt to the prepackaged taco seasoning. There is plenty of salt in the prepackaged taco seasoning.
So I've learned that again and again. If you're a husband learning to cook for the first time, you're going to make mistakes.
And that's okay.
It's okay. You're learning. There was this really cool one pot pasta thing I made, and it says add cheese. Well, it said add Parmesan cheese. So I added salt and Parmesan cheese, and it calls for a lot of Parmesan cheese, and it was very salty because I didn't take into account that the
Parmesan is extremely salty.
Had so much salt in it. So It was edible. It wasn't the greatest food in the world, but it was edible. Yeah. And I learned there to cut back on salt when you've got salty ingredients that are coming in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's true with everybody who's learning how to cook. Like you're gonna make mistakes, and that's okay. And like you said, your chopping skills are getting better, and your knife skills are one of the most important things in the kitchen. It's one of the most important things to learn because safety. You gotta learn how to be safe in the kitchen.
I learned the proper way to chop from Alton Brown.
Yes, Alton Brown is. Listen, a lot of guys think they don't like watching cooking shows, but Alton Brown's old cooking show, Good Eats, and
it's on Max
newer
now.
Ones too. Yeah,
want to go, and he's got a lot of great recipes, easy to follow. And
he gets into the science behind why these recipes work and why food does what it does. And I think a lot of guys would enjoy Good Eats more than they enjoy other cooking shows.
Yeah. Now, Rachel Ray and Shada are fun to watch because they're cute, but
a lot of guys like watching Shada.
Yeah, bobblehead.
Yeah, a little bit.
But Alton explains it really well. He's got fun episodes. He teaches you how to do it. He doesn't treat you like an idiot. That's the important part to me. Mm-hmm. Is he's explaining it like you're a 5-year-old. Mm-hmm. So, but it's very fun to do, very intriguing. And again, am I able to do a prime rib roast bone in right now? massive Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner. No, that's way beyond. You got to know your limitations. You can grow and take steps up, but you cannot just go ahead and jump into the hard stuff first.
Yeah.
Because you're going to screw up. The more it's like anything, the more repetitions you get, the better you get at it.
Oh yeah, you got to get your reps in.
Get your reps.
Get your reps in. But I also, I had to learn how to cook. Like I didn't grow up cooking. I didn't take home ec in high school. I didn't grow up thinking I was going to enjoy cooking. My grandmother was a phenomenal cook, but like I didn't think that was something that I was going to enjoy. So it wasn't something that I grew up interested in. It wasn't until really after, I moved out on my own that I was like, oh, I should probably know how to feed myself.
Look, in college, it was either the food halls, and then in the summers when the food halls only did breakfast and lunch, didn't do dinner, I lived off Healthy Choice microwavable meals. And then I found the big bag of basically pre-seasoned, pre-everything chicken breasts from Tyson that you just throw in the microwave. That was how I made it through college. Girlfriends would occasionally cook for me.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I had no clue how to cook in college.
Yeah. And I didn't cook in college. I lived in the dorm. But when I got out on my own in my apartment, that's when I started really, learning how to cook some. And then when we got married, I was still learning. I'm still learning. That's the thing, is cooking is infinite and you're never going to stop learning.
Cool thing she has learned to make recently. It's called butter curry chicken.
Yeah,
with
butter
garlic
chicken.
rice.
Yeah.
It is amazing. And it's just something you were watching, was it TV? And you're like, I want to try that?
I don't remember exactly, but I might have been reading something on Reddit of like talking about Indian food. And I've always been a little intimidated by Indian food. And I know that butter chicken is maybe not the most authentic. Maybe it is. I don't know. There's not an Indian restaurant in Walker County, Alabama, if you can believe that.
Got a couple Chinese ones. So.
Yeah. But it was like, okay, well, maybe I could make this. And I'm not I like spice, but my stomach won't tolerate it.
She's a white person.
I am. Yes. Well, you are too.
Yes, but I can tolerate spice.
You can tolerate spice. My tummy can't. I have a very white person tummy.
Very English.
Yes, very very Scottish tummy. That's not a Scottish accent.
That was not.
I can normally do accents, but we're gonna let that go. I decided that was something that I wanted to try to make, and it turns out we both really liked it.
It's really good. Now, she'll make it spicier than she means to sometimes, which I really enjoy. And then some days she'll do a mild version for her and then set that aside and make mine spicier. And she'll label a spicy and a mild version when she puts up there. She's done that twice, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's just finding what you like, branching out. If your partner is not a adventurous person when it comes to food, don't be adventurous. Stick to the basics. If you're adventurous and your partner has a few, maybe we'll try that. I will pretty much eat anything.
Yeah.
I have no fear in eating anything. I have had kangaroo. I've had camel. I've had lamb's eyeball.
Yeah. And I could maybe eat the camel and the kangaroo, but I'm not going to eat anything's eyeball. That's not happening.
So, I mean, I'm not afraid. I will try anything. I like crazy food. Love sushi. When we were in Utah, there was a wild game chili we had that was absolutely delicious. Had antelope, bison, venison, all sorts of stuff in it. It was so good. And it were like big chunks of bison too.
Yeah,
like
and I'm not big on game. Although I did cook bison the other day. I made some
those bison
burgers the other day. But I think getting back to the relationship aspect of it, if you can take the mental and physical load off your partner, who typically does. There was a Gallup poll in 2020. That showed that women were still doing the cooking or the preparing of meals in 51% of households in the U.S. And that's not to say that men were doing it in 49% of households. It's that women were doing it in 51% of households. Men were doing it in 17% of households. And they were sharing that load in 32% of households. And then there was a little tiny percentage
Men
of
only.
non-respondents. But it was, we as women are still doing the vast majority of the meal preparation work. And that should really look more like, a third and a third and a third, maybe, or, we're sharing that load.
We tend to do it unequally because, like I said, we have the time difference between
Sure.
us. But I make it up in other ways. Lila hates grocery shopping. She will give me a list, and I will gladly go to Walmart or Winn-Dixie or Aldi and go get the food. I have no problem with that. And then I'll bring it in. She'll start putting it up. And then when I got everything brought in, I'll help her put the rest up. So, I mean, we offset in other ways. We don't always just... Lila does not go grocery shopping, then put up the food, then make the food, then clean up the food.
Yeah.
I mean, we try to offset in other ways.
Yeah. If there's some way in your house that you can offset for each other, that's great. You don't always have to put it on one person. And I think that's one way that you can show kindness to each other and show appreciation to each other and show a little bit of, hey, I understand that this is not always the most pleasant thing in the world.
100%. Well, that I think is a good stopping point for our first podcast.
Yay!
Do you want to shout out your social media to get people to follow you on Threads and Instagram?
I would if I could remember my handles right now.
Lila Gale 80 on Instagram and Threads.
Yeah.
I am David Sears 1982 on Instagram and Threads, and David Sears 75 on Twitter. I am the meme king. I love memes. I love silly stuff. So
I'm also Lila G Cat Mama on TikTok.
I think I'm David Sears 1982 on TikTok, but I haven't made a TikTok. I got a TikTok because she wanted to share stuff with me, and she got tired of, hey, you need to open the app, and then you have to go to Facebook, then you have to open the Facebook. So I got it just to watch that. And we'll talk about that, social media and relationships, in other days. Because I love the thoughts. I'm just saying. The thoughts.
The thoughts. Yeah.
Thoughts. All right. Well, this has been the first episode of Empathy Ever After. We're going to air weekdays at 7 a.m. on Tony Kurre Radio. We'll be podcasted on all your major podcasting platforms under the Tony Kurre Radio banner. You want a cool catchphrase? You want to say "Hail Geen" or anything?
No, I don't think I want to say that exactly. But be kind to yourselves and to your partner.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.